Welcome to Up Close and Empowered with host Sonna Johns. Over the next hour, you'll hear from Sonna and her guests on how you can become more empowered through life's most challenging situations. Sonna's journey through her own transformation has inspired her to awaken you to your divine power.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sonna Johns with Up Close and Empowered, where we talk everything empowerment. My hopes are that you'll be inspired and empowered in some way after hearing my guests and their stories of courage and bravery, resilience, life purpose, all of the above, and helping all of this information to help you on your personal journey, self-development journey, and raising the vibration on the planet. And speaking about the planet, we have a very special topic today. We are going to explore the power of unity consciousness. And I'm really excited about my guest that we're going to be speaking with in just a few minutes. We're going to be talking about the importance of how we can all do our part to help us through these difficult times on an individual level and collectively. We'll talk about women who also, this is one of her specialties. We'll talk about women who feel disenfranchised from their religious or cultural backgrounds and how they can become more empowered and understand the new lens of spirituality and their sole purpose at this time on Earth, which is a very special and unique time on Earth right now. So my guest today's journey is very unique. It's a combination of spirituality and being in the corporate world. Edina Mauvana, a Silicon Valley enterprise sales executive turned spirituality consultant. How about that? It's from corporate sales to becoming a spirituality consultant and heart-centered entrepreneur. So she has quite a background here, and I had a hard time nailing down like all of her things to because it's overwhelming. She has such a background and so much knowledge on spirituality, the corporate world, combining the two. So she is the author of a new book called Ascension is the New Attraction. She is also the host of Into the Light, which is an awesome podcast. I recommend that you definitely check it out. It's on the YouTube channel as well. And her guests on the show range from light workers, quantum energy and plant medicine specialists, coaches, healers, all types of modalities, different backgrounds. And it's just a great platform to hear about healing, transformation, personal growth. It's very good. So I recommend you check it out. She is also the founder and creator of the Unity Consciousness Collective and the creator of Not That Kind of Muslim campaign on social media. And we're going to dive into what each of these are. Like I said, she has quite an array within her. So she has an interesting story on how her personal brand evolved and led her to her purpose of helping others in their life journey. And that is where her passions are. They revolve around spirituality, personal growth, and helping others. She is deeply dedicated to guiding individuals on their journey and is passionate about the dismantling stereotypes surrounding spirituality, as I mentioned earlier. Her personal transformation led her to the world of a heart-centered entrepreneurship, coaching, and now what she calls matchmaking to help others find their perfect mentors, teachers, healers, and practitioners to help them on their journey. Her story is a true testament to transformation, resilience, and a powerful belief in the potential of others to create impactful change in their lives. And not only in their lives, but as we all know, as we pivot within and we change ourselves, we create a ripple effect on the planet, raising the vibration and creating a better world. So with that, let's welcome Edina Mauvana to the show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Sonna. That was amazing. I love that introduction. You said so much.
Well, you have so much. It's like, oh my gosh, like, how do I narrow this down?
I really appreciate it. Yeah, I do a lot of different things, and we're going to get into all of that. And I just love how the opening for your show is about, raising the vibration of on the planet. And now today we're talking about unity consciousness and all of what some of this stuff even means, right? Like, we'll hear things about the greatest global consciousness awakening that humanity's ever seen and whatever is happening right now. So I just love talking about all these different topics, and it's a big part of my work, and I think it goes really well with all the messaging of your show. So I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, I'm really glad to have you. And, you and I could talk forever because I know when we've had conversations in the past, we just keep just going and going and going. So I love your energy and we have so much in common. I'm so glad to have you on the show today. I'd like to start out with people knowing your background. I think everybody wants to know, your background, how you grew up and, take it from there. And then we'll just kind of play it by ear.
Right. I have, because I interview people myself, and, we talk a lot about how people came to the work that they do, especially when it comes to spirituality. And, a lot of us come from different backgrounds, monotheistic, Christian, I come from a Muslim background. I was actually, married for 14 years, and, my ex-husband's Egyptian. And so we have two kids. And so I spent the first part of my life with my dad, who is actually from like former Yugoslavia. He's a Croatian man. He's still alive, actually. He's in his 90s. And he was like pre, World War II era.
Wow.
Eastern European man. Yeah. And then I was also married very young after that to then my husband, now ex-husband. And then after my marriage, I've had a whole, like 5+ year transformation journey. And now I have like my whole new kind of like, people talk about like they're walking in or trying to like get into their best and highest self life, and that transformation journey that we all go through when we've like had a lot of bad, trauma happen. So
Right.
I come from an interesting background, just religiously, having been Muslim. And I was pretty conservative, and like especially in my marriage, like I didn't, I wore the headscarf for the most part, like not super conservative. There's different varieties, but definitely like I was, working in the corporate world. I got my, first sales jobs like right out of college, and spent 10+ years building my career. But I was like I was a minority in that way, like being
Hmm.
Muslim and female, but then also like being kind of outwardly religious as well. So but now I also had another transformation, where now I have a different identity, but I still have my, my foundational kind of religious belief system. So I think a lot of people in the world are having that right. We have different backgrounds, and like, Christians, and, you start to do different things when you go through different things in your life, spiritually. So, my background is kind of a like a combination of these different things.
Right. Tell us a little bit about that transformation. So you say 5 years of transformation. What did that
Mm.
look like? And how did that feel?
Yeah, I have, like we talk about the 5 years ago, what things look like and versus now. I mean, I was coming out of a 14-year marriage, and I have my two kids there. They were 3 and 6 years old, so pretty young. And I had to like obviously, date, and I want to find another partner, but I also had to really just set myself up on my own, and I've spent,
Hmm.
years rebuilding from that. And I personally like from a spiritual perspective, I started doing more like learning about law of attraction and manifesting. You start to like think about how we can rebuild our life and heal, and a lot of that leads us to like a deeply and profoundly transforming like healing journey, right? Because
Hmm.
we start to unpack like our child, like how we were like I had an abandonment issue, and generational trauma around that. And that was patterning in my relationships. And so I've had a lot of breakups, and coming together with, just through the healing. And so I think all of it is tied into our our spiritual journey, like on the planet, right? We all in some way are having a lot of these interpersonal relationship conflicts in our lives with our spouses, and the pandemic happened to everyone
Hmm.
as a
Hmm.
collective, so we talk about how these expressions of trauma are coming up as a collective, and they're happening on the individual level in our relationships. So, a lot of my journey has been doing that work, our own personal work in order to have a deeper impact on the collective.
Right. But so that was the beginning of your journey, your spiritual journey, because wouldn't you say that it was a little bit different than what you had been raised, and even through your marriage? I mean, wasn't this like the next level of really, diving deep into your healing, and then also taking the path of spirituality in a more broader sense? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I definitely so I started to like go into more learning about energy work, and people will do
Mhm.
different things like go do Reiki, or you start to learn about different yoga practices and things
Mhm.
like that. And I started learning about uh e- everything in the universe being about energy and different laws of the universe, like you mentioned. And there's a whole world of people talking about something called the ascension process. And so this is all like my book. It's titled Ascension is the New Attraction. So everything in what we're seeing happening right now from a collective perspective, from what we talk about on my show and with different healers and practitioners, is happening in this ascension process. So that's like a whole area of like law of attraction, work that where people are doing. And what it really comes down to is like where our traumas are having impacts in our life, and we're doing
Mhm.
this healing work.
Mhm.
So it's like that's the common theme. Right.
Right, right. Well, listen, it all starts within. It's all up to us
Mm,
individually, and it all starts within us healing our own traumas for sure. I mean,
yeah,
that's part of the
totally.
whole process. Yeah. So when did you realize that? Well, take us back into the corporate. So you were in the corporate life, and then what happened? Where was the transition where
Yeah.
you went from Silicon Valley corporate,
uh,
sales to spirituality consultant and heart-centered entrepreneur? Just briefly
yeah,
tell us about
totally.
that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was about a process. It's been about 2 years. And it started off, I was actually, even this up until earlier this year, I was at Salesforce, like my corporate job. And I was impacted by the layoffs actually. And that's when I launched my podcast and my book, to help,
Okay.
like generate and my consulting services. So I kind of, had been doing, spirituality related work, like kind of like coaching, and building up ideas. But then, when you get laid off or something dramatic
Mhm.
happens, we have to regroup and shift. So I've been building for, about a year, in this direction. And now I'm launching, the program that happened that came out this month, which is Embodied Ascension, Unity Consciousness and Quantum Leap program. And so I've been working together with different healers and practitioners and coaches. And,
Mhm.
once a week, we're having calls and talking about all these different, the work that everyone's doing with ascension and healing, and how we can accelerate our like a spiritual journey, as a collective
Right.
and as a community. Hmm.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really liked about you when we had spoken, I don't know, a few months ago, is that I guess it's the Unity Consciousness Collective that kind of started, and it's a
Hmm.
platform. So take us through that. Just, what is that about, and how can people learn more about it? And then what is the other program that you're offering, the Ascension program? So how do those differ? Because the one in particular that I really want to raise some awareness about is the one with a lot of support. You have the support, you have different people that you can give as resources. There's people that are helping one another. There's online
Hmm.
speaking and self-help. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that is so the Embodied Ascension, and that's where I have the program that's running every year, and weekly expert partners coming in to talk to us about different areas that, are like what might be happening with,
Mhm.
working on their masculine and feminine, wounds and things like that. So every week we're talking about different subjects that are relevant. And then we get one-on-one work with me, talking about the ascension process and what's going on an interpersonal relationship, level with everything. And so we're running that year long. And so that's the Unity Consciousness Collective is the network of different practitioners and healers and that, guests who've been on my show, like they're all doing different, healing modalities and things like that we're talking about. So that's the Unity Consciousness Collective, and I'm eventually building it out, to be, different services and everything like that.
So that's where you're playing the matchmaker. Basically, you're the rainmaker. I like to look at it as a rainmaker, like putting people together that, certain mentors or certain practitioners or healers work, it's what that person needs. It's for their needs.
Yeah, like the best person or practitioner healer for the right person at the right time, because that's kind of what the spirituality consulting process is that I do with clients. And when they're working with me one-on-one, you need different things at different times. And sometimes, you want to know who the best people are, or what some of this work even is before you do it. And so people will, get a good understanding of what's available by working with me, and then with the different healers in the collective, or what they need.
Right. And I know you have a vast array of healers and modalities.
Yeah.
So that's really great.
Yeah.
I want to talk about law of attraction, but I think we're going to take a short break here in a few minutes. But we'll on the back side of the break, we will talk about law of attraction, and we'll dive in a little bit deeper about how you reach women and how some of your specialties are working with women with limited beliefs. So I want to talk about that a little further. And then I also want to throw out there, if anybody wants to call in and ask a question, we are available. Edina's available. And the number is 888-346-9141. So we'll probably take that call, I don't know, in about 5 minutes or so. So if there's anybody that would like to ask a question, again, the number is 888-346-9141. So we will be right back after this short break, and we'll dive into the law of attraction.
Welcome back to Up Close and Empowered with Sonna Johns. Have a question for Sonna or guests? Join us on the show at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. Now back to the show.
Hi, welcome back to the show. This is Sonna Johns talking to Edina Mauvana on Up Close and Empowered. And right now we're talking about unity consciousness. And let's talk a little further about that, Edina. Talk about law of attraction and what that has to do with unity consciousness and the whole quantum energy. Like, let's just tie that in right now all together.
Yeah, that is a big question. I mean, when we start to think about how we are all energy beings on the planet, right? I mean, and in a lot of ways, that's what we're starting to see. There's different documentaries and things that come out about this topic, and how consciousness is our connection. We're all interconnected in these different ways, and we are activated with the laws of the universe, right? Like, so the law of attraction is like attracts like, and I know you talk a lot about this on your show, our thoughts creating our reality, and all of that. So when we're working on our own healing journey, and we're trying to walk into the light, like we have to heal all the lower vibrational energy problems in our life. And sometimes this is our, we have like trauma stored, it's causing stress, diseases in our bodies. There's a lot of physical, there's a lot of mental things, when we're all suffering, right? And so I think when we talk about the spiritual awakening, or this process that humanity is going through, and in these turbulent times, and I think what we're talking about is this process of a lot of these issues surfacing to be healed, right? And it's happening on an individual level, it's happening as a collective, and we are what happens in the one part of the collective, like as an organism, impacts the others. So I think we all are kind of talking about law of attraction, unity consciousness, and how we're doing our own spiritual journey. So that's how it's all tied together right now on the planet.
Right. And that's the reason why we're seeing a lot of, find the compassion and the love, but within ourselves first, because people are so quick to judge, and the resentment, the anger. I mean, you know what happens out there with the energy. And we really need to
Yeah.
focus on ourselves, doing our own work, right? Our own healing, and
Right.
working on ourselves to the point where we can be a light to the world, where we can be that love energy in the world, that compassionate energy, because energy is real. I mean, everything is energy, and energy is everything. And it really, I know sometimes people don't completely get it, and I didn't get it, but it really matters. I mean, seriously, like you and I talked before the show, like how many people are feeling the energy of what's going on in the world right now? If you're empathic at all, or you're sensitive at
Yes.
all, you're going to feel some of this chaos, and you may not know exactly where it's coming from, but we feel it. So it's just a true testament that the energy that's out there affects all of us. And that's why if we all just do our work and be a being of light, love,
Mhm.
and work on ourselves, that this is going to create an energy that will also go into the world to transmute, to alchemize the
Mm.
fear, the resentment, the division.
Right, right. And I think everyone needs to find and do this work in a way that's supportive of who they are and their background, and cut through a lot of the confusion about what to do if you're not feeling aligned with your own religious or spiritual practice that doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. And we are creating ways in which you can get clarity and support and community around like doing this work. And I think that's really important, especially when we talk about community and healing that happens when you're supported. And there's science is showing, and that's also part of us being tied together in unity consciousness, is healing is accelerated and when we're doing things together. And so that these things are very important, and so many of us are seeking help and support, and you just really want to find the right person at the right time for the right problem. And so me as doing the consulting work, and like I combine kind of like a problem solving background from sales, and now I'm helping people solve like their spiritual problems, but it's all a lot of the same work that's being done, with helping solve solutions, make things faster, and just get clarity around something that's very confusing in this process. So yeah,
Yes.
it's a lot going on.
It is. It's very confusing for a lot of people. And that was one of my next questions that I wanted to ask you is, so if somebody is struggling with,
Hmm.
this belief system that they've been raised on, and they're being torn or pulled in different directions, what is some of the first things that you recommend, or what do you do with somebody that, because I know just from my own coach, when I've worked with people, if they have a strong, let's say, religious background in Catholicism, I mean, that's a very, there's, and again, I never try to, get involved too much with that, but I can only say where
Yeah,
I'm coming from. But people
right.
do feel like the guilt, and they get
The
caught
guilt.
up
Yeah.
in the beliefs, and kind of sometimes lose the sight of what this is really all about, and that
Right.
we're all one, and we don't need to be, caught up in the guilt and the shame of certain
Yeah.
things.
Well, that's what I mean. Even so, that's what the whole work is about, really. I think we are in alignment there, because it's like we're getting out of the guilt, the fear, shame-based programming that we've been in, like it's been instilled in us for generations of trauma, and eons of
Mhm.
like being in a distorted, like distorted state with that. And it's like an imbalance, right? And we have to, yeah, process through, just like trauma. You have to do it, like through getting out of those fears and guilt, lower ego based problems. So yeah, we are all in a, like, kind of feeling the same thing, and there's different ways to look at it and how to understand it. But like, I think that's why doing like the weekly calls, so I have a an invite event that I do for free, with one healer like at a time. And right now we're talking about how to break through trauma in life, whether, you know, even if your trauma or your karma is holding you back. And she talks about like doing past life regression work and, you know, hypnosis techniques. You know, there's all kinds of different
Right.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we like to talk about just knowing what's going on and what kind of work you can do that would be important, and then what it heals, and, you know, moving forward. So this is all part of that ascension process. It's like a mapping process that we do.
Yeah, and what's really nice about it is that there's so much available. There's so many
Yeah,
different types of modalities and healing and coaches. And I mean, a lot of it crosses over, you know, especially when you
right.
get into the coaching, a lot of it's just who resonates with you, what resonates with you. But the
Yeah,
beauty is that there's someone out there to be accountable to be accountable to. And because I'm a big, you know, I'm a really big advocate on having a support system, because
right.
I have gone through this journey and I couldn't have done it alone. I mean, I did the work, and I mean, I had to actually do the work. And just like when
Mhm.
I'm coaching people, they do the work, but I'm helping them with the tools and helping them to understand everything around some of the things that they're going through, which, you know,
Yeah,
my teacher, my healer has helped me with as well. And I know that I wouldn't be here if I didn't have the support, the understanding, the encouragement, and the tools of going through this process. And it's just
right.
like having a support system. I mean, everybody needs to have some kind of a support system. So again, you find
Totally.
who resonates with you, but it's life changing. It is life
Right. Yeah.
changing. I mean, I wouldn't give up anything like for what I've learned at this point in my life, because I have learned so much. And the last 7 years have been really the most difficult years of my life, but they were also the most transformative. And I'm just so grateful. And I just feel like if people need to know that there are support systems out there, there are coaches, there are healers,
Yeah.
practitioners, there are certain things that just make you feel good with having somebody that understands and that you don't feel alone.
Definitely. And, you know, also I was just listening to your story, and really, one of the other things is there's also ways to do your spiritually led work. And, you know, a lot of us, like for me, I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, you know, I want to do what I'm led to do spiritually, but I gotta, you know, find out what works for me. And I think right now a lot of people are really sick of the corporate grind and, you know, everything. They want to do work that's in alignment. And you know, I help clients and light workers launch, they come on my show, they get a commercial and a reel, then they can get on other shows. I work with an author, and then she's able to get promote, you know. So it's like I'm working with people and women especially, who want to, you know, do their spiritually led work. And I use my sales and marketing background and my like my AI software tools and things like that to help get their personal brands launched, because I had to launch my personal brand and do all these things. So, you know, we're also on a mission to help people who want to, you know, build into like a spiritually led direction, and I help them get more of their ideal clients. So we partner together, and like I'm doing programs, and I'm doing all that work, you know, as a consultant, and then they can also do, you know, they can start doing more of their energy work and businesses as well. That's a big part of the community building as well.
Right. And because of your reinvention that you did, you
Yeah.
reinventing yourself, you're able to help others that may need to reinvent themselves or may want to
Yeah.
reinvent themselves. But let's go back for a minute. What about the corporate employee, the corporate person, individual, woman that still has to, you know, wants to be or is in the corporate field? Because I know you and I both have a corporate background. What if they want to incorporate some spirituality into their life? Like, you know, they still want their job and they want the
Yeah.
security. You know, how does it fit in, and how can they fit this aspect of becoming more empowered, more spiritually empowered, when they're working like a full-time corporate job?
Yeah, I mean, I was in that position. I'm still, you know, I was there. I was still doing this work while I was working in my day job. And I think, you know, it starts by just like I like to watch TV programs. I have like the Gaia Network has all these different
Mhm.
things to help with, understanding your healing and your body. And, I think doing things like in your diet and in your exercise and self-care routine and, mental health and wellness, I mean,
Mhm.
that is all part of that, that work. And it starts your whole, you know, journey of self-love and healing. And so, I think we're all creating time in our day, hopefully where we can have like either in the morning when you first wake up, like do activities that are in alignment or like journaling or writing before bed. It just depends. So my clients will, we want to carve out that kind of time for, spiritual practice. And that's the best thing you can do every day. Everyone has a different kind of tip or trick. So
Mhm. But don't you
I
think
think
that
that,
creates more balance in our lives?
yeah, absolutely. And it's really, you start, one thing leads to another, and then as the law of attraction activates, you'll get more of what you need. And if you need to eventually leave your job or your situation, things will open up a path for you. And that's why we create the vision boards, and we understand how to get there. But it's a process, and it takes like 6 months or a year long or 5 year long process. It's all a journey that doesn't end, right? We just keep we
That
keep
is
going.
for sure.
Yeah, it keeps going. But we definitely we can do this work, and we can get our best and highest self life, and we can understand the laws of attraction
Mhm.
and why it works. So it's a great time to be in.
It is a great time. It's a great time to
Yeah.
be living right now because we have these tools, these practices, the community all available to us. We never have
Yes.
before. I mean, more than ever, people are coming together and helping each other through this difficult time. And I think it's just going to, in the long run, help us to become a higher version of ourselves. And as we're on this journey, as we talk about our never-ending journey, which is okay because it's all about the journey, not the destination. And
Right.
wouldn't you agree that as you're going through this journey, and we all know it's not always easy, but anything that's really worthwhile isn't easy, right? I mean,
Right. You gotta
nothing,
work
Rome
for
wasn't
it.
built in a day. I always say that, but it's like nothing was built in a day. It is a process. But
Yeah.
once you are working on yourself, self-respect, self-love, self-empowerment, it's very fulfilling, and it
Mhm.
allows us to become more filled with love and light. And then we automatically want to help others because we know what the journey is like.
Yeah, and I think we have our gifts, our innate gifts. Like for me, I look back and like I have a very strong certain skill set, and part of this process and working with someone or getting clarity on these things is like, you can take what you're good at, your innermost strengths, and you can find real alignment with what you want to do, with how you want to spend the hours of your day, create healthy boundaries, and then things open up in that direction. So I think it's all about doing this work and getting started, and finding the support in the community that you need. But everyone, we see a lot of, we're all seeing results. It's going to be successful. We just need to take those first steps. And we all have to find that balance in our lives every day to do that.
Right. And it is
Yeah.
achievable. I mean, it's different for everybody. Everybody finds what works for them. But I'm
Yeah.
a big believer in, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally being balanced. And I think that even if we are in the corporate world or we're working a 9 to 5, whatever it may be, that we need to find that time for ourselves. I mean, it's not only the spiritual journey, but it's also the self-love and connection to God, source, universe, however we want to phrase it. And I think that doing that every day subconsciously tells yourself that you are worthy. You're worthy of self-love, self-acceptance, which, as you know, is part of this whole empowerment journey. And then you
Mhm.
add the spirituality to it, the connecting through meditation, and all of these things that help us to become so empowered within. It's really amazing. I mean, we are so powerful. We are very powerful beings, right?
Yes. Yes, right. It's like we're co-creators of our reality. You'll hear that. And like we can create our minds, our thoughts create our reality. And that's how it all starts. You create, and you start, that's how law of attraction works. We start to really live it, feel it as though we're living it and being it and embodying it, and you know, connect to that emotional space that really, you know, brings you the gratitude and the appreciation, and then it draws in more, right? And so we have to do those practices and find, you know, the qualities of these higher vibrational states of love and all of that. And so it's just that's why it's important to do this work, and you know, get the support and
Mhm.
learn about how to best do it in alignment with what's going to make sense with you, you know, in your background. So
And don't you
yeah.
feel that when we work on our inner world, that our external world gets affected in positive ways? I mean, as far as
Yeah.
success, abundance, love, that when we start within, all of the other things kind of fall into place. So a lot of people,
Right.
they concentrate on the external of, you know, what they have and that this is empowerment. Well, no, it's the complete opposite. The real empowerment comes from within.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And doing the inner work first, and that's really where we're having like our interpersonal relationships, or getting, you know, and then doing that work to actually attract the partner you want. So all of it is really about yeah, loving ourselves first, because we have to do that work before we can even project that or exude that into the universe, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
I love that. I totally agree. Okay, we're going to take one more break and we'll be
Okay.
back right after the break. And I'll right on the other side of this break, we'll talk about, I want to talk a little bit more about mindset, co-creating, authentic leadership. I'd like to talk a little bit about that for people that are in the corporate world, like how authentic leadership is so needed in really all aspects of our lives, in any business
Right.
or anything that we're doing, because we ultimately are all leaders. We're all
Right.
leaders in our
Yes.
own way.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Effective leadership. Right.
Great. So we'll talk about that right after the break.
All right. Awesome.
Welcome back to Up Close and Empowered with Sonna Johns. Have a question for Sonna or a guest? Join us on the show at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. Now back to the show.
Hi, I'm Sonna Johns talking to Edina Mauvana, and we are back from the break. And I wanted to touch upon co-creating our life. What does that mean? You know, mindset, manifestation. What does it mean to co-create, and why is it so important to do this?
Right. Yeah. We hear that thrown around a lot. What does it even mean, co-creating our reality? And I think of it as aligning our thoughts and our feelings with our, you know, our emotions, and or like our mind with our heart, you know, that
Hmm.
alignment, activating the power of that. Because what we're all doing is yeah, our thoughts have to align with our actions, and our feelings have to be like, we have, that's the embodiment process, is having clarity on that, and then creating our reality, what we're projecting and what we're doing out in the world around that integrity. And so it's sort of like you do a, you know, you start to heal these things in your own self, and you start to kind of become more balanced in that way. And you know, people are regulating their nervous systems, and they're taking, you know, all these different practices, somatic healing and all kinds of
Hmm.
different things. And so it's all kind of talking about this alignment, and what it's doing is, you know, activating your connection to source, or to energy, God, Allah, you know, whatever that might be for you. And your prayers and everything are starting to align, and then you're creating what it is you're doing, you know. So I think of it in that way. And there's different court, like I have different experts who, like Muslims will teach about how the power of dua, like prayer, is the law of attraction, you know, or the, you know, so we're all understanding these sort of things in whatever, you know, background or religious belief
Right.
system we come from, but they're all in alignment with what is happening, and you know, activating these laws of the universe, law of attraction, and then creating our reality from who we're really supposed to be innately. Like, you know, you might be someone who is just really unhappy that life isn't going the way you thought it was, and that you keep having these pattern behaviors, and this is still happening, and trauma, and it's like those get worse until things that go unhealed, they get worse and before they get, until they get better. So when you have to do this like shadow work, and calamities hit in life, and everyone has talking about the points of where, you know turmoil or calamity struck until it got so bad that they had to go the other way. So it's sort of like,
Right.
yeah, that is creating, you're manifesting co-creating your reality, is getting out of that downward cycle spiral. It's bringing us down and into the law of light and attraction.
Right. And it's about catching yourself. It's about being self-aware. I mean, it's really all about self-awareness. And that's really the
Right.
key. I mean, self-awareness is healing. That is the beginning of healing. And that is the
Yes.
beginning of this mindset because, I'll be honest, I didn't even understand how important this mindset was until this last so many years of my journey, but it's so important, and it's important to catch yourself. And I'm not saying bypass any emotions that you feel. I mean, obviously we have to feel to heal, as they say, but
Yeah.
we also have to know, we have to learn how to have a default system of shifting into
Mhm.
a different vibration so that we can keep our energy level at a higher frequency. And
Right.
that's
Right.
all self-awareness. We have
Yeah.
to know what to do in that moment, whether it's, choosing a thought of love, a loved one, something that you're grateful for, listening to music, whatever it is that takes you from one place to another. And I
Mhm.
don't think, I think that it's, so important that our mindset is creating what we're thinking, what we're doing, our day to day, even in the little things. It creates our reality. And that's why it's so important. And it sounds like, oh gosh, we have so much to remember. But honestly, once you kind of get it and you're
Yeah.
self aware, you just start making choices that are good for you. You start using discernment and it becomes second nature. Now, are we always going to be perfect? No, we're going to make mistakes because we're human. But for the most part, we're going to know what to do.
Right, right. And I love how you talk about self-aware, and also you mentioned discernment. Those are two like real big themes that I'm certainly hearing a lot, coming up, and self-awareness and introspection, and looking at, in and dealing with, our maybe ego problem or whatever might be coming up for us.
Mhm.
It's kind of like our reaction versus, people will talk about responding versus reacting, and then creating the
Right.
space for that. So, that is all a process from the self-aware state, and like being, just looking inward, and in order to heal. And then discernment, like you said, I think, for me, I like to think about like empathy, and how maybe areas of my life where I might have needed more empathy, and now I'm like making different decisions. And, but I also have, sometimes I'll hold a line, and it'll cause a friction, in my relationship. But like, I feel like we're using discernment to decide like how we're going to respond in an appropriate way, and we're all working on doing that, better, from more of our healed state rather than our trauma based state,
Right.
right?
Right. And
Yeah.
choosing what's best for us, what
Hmm.
resonates with us, or what is in alignment with us as
Absolutely.
it comes
Yeah.
to
Or time.
relationships, friends, jobs, obligations, whatever it may be. It's just really tapping in and just stepping back and saying, okay, do I really want to do this? Does this resonate with me? Which kind of
Hmm.
leads me to what I wanted to ask you. When you were on your transformative, and I know you're still on your journey, but let's say those 5 years that were really difficult for you. So, what happened with your circles, like family members, circles of friends? Did people fall away? Did they understand? Did they support you? Because I know that a lot of the people that I work with in my coaching, they've realized that some people just don't align with them anymore, which is
Anymore.
okay. There's no judgment. I mean, everybody's on their own journey and on their own frequency, but sometimes they have lost friends. And so, did you encounter this when you were on
Oh
your
my gosh.
transformational journey?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes shocking, like to what degree people will fall away from your life, and in what triggered manner of just chaos, right? Or just even like outrageously. So sometimes people will, like, like I was married, and we had a whole community, and I understand, like, we used to be like a very foundational couple family, and large gatherings in our home, and then I don't see any of those people anymore. And I was kind of like, but some of that was my doing, and, you kind of move away,
Right.
but yeah,
Mhm.
you start to really have a lot of frictions, in the process, because it's almost like you're designed to just trigger things, and then you're just like trying to handle it the best you can, but you start to see that a lot of the issues are more about the other person, and, you kind of need to move away, or they need to move away from you for whatever reason. So, you really, like, I had a wholly different life when I was married, and had like ingrained in that, and now I'm like in another totally different environment. And, I still retain friendships, but by and large, I mean, friends fall away, family, becomes distant. But in my case, me and my siblings have gotten closer in this process. So that's
Mhm.
actually been nice, because I think we've been doing our own journeys individually, and now we're adults. And my brother does spiritual related work. He's like he's doing his professor studies and things like that. So, we start to come together, I think, and in the end, with the people who matter most.
Right. And I think when we
Yeah.
go through this process, we also become a light to others, meaning that we may shine the light on them, but it's okay. It's like, it's all in a good way. And we're coming from a loving space, because as we do the
Right.
work, we become more loving and accepting. Because I found that with myself, people that maybe may not have been there for me during my journey, I don't really have any, I don't have any ill thoughts or anything like that. It's just, we are who we are. We have to accept people where they are, because we can only accept them at whatever their level of consciousness is. And if we could
Right.
all look at it that way, there'd be a lot less turmoil in this world, right? If we could just look at
Oh
it
my
that
gosh.
way.
Yeah, right. We would be treating other people, how we wanted to be treated, if we understood that there wasn't this, drastic separation. And I think,
Right.
as a collective, that's what we're advancing towards. Like, humanity has moved into technology and into AI and into all these different areas. And this is all part of this accelerated consciousness, and where we're all moving towards. And so I think, understanding that we're going to feel things like, war and disease on a collective level, and it's going to surface, everything. It's actually just a reflection of what's going on in a collective level and in an individual level. It's all of this, purging out of these lower things that have been holding us back for so long. So
Sure.
that really does bring in a lot of, love and light and
Hmm.
unity, when we start to dismantle, within ourselves, and then within other systems, the problems that are a part of that, illusion of separation. And that's a whole other
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, this is really important work for our whole consciousness as a whole. And
Right. And it all
yeah,
starts with us on an individual level, right?
absolutely. Yes, yes, we love
Okay, so
it.
we're getting close to the end of the show. We have a few minutes
Yeah.
left, and I want people to know where they can reach out to you and maybe hold up your book, because I will be
Yeah.
also putting this on my YouTube channel so they can. And what is the name of the book?
Oh, ascension is the new attraction. So it's like law of attraction, but now we're talking about ascension. So it takes it to the next level on some of these, overcoming your limiting beliefs, understanding the universe from an energetic perspective. It's got a lot of different ways that we can shift our understanding, and implement these practices for, the ascension process, and law. So, like, law of
Great.
activating it all and
Mhm.
understanding it. Definitely. Oh, and my website, www.edinamovana.com, and also my Instagram handle at Edina Mauvana. Definitely follow and check me out there, and my podcast and all that is up there.
Good. And
Yeah.
last question, I think we have maybe 2 minutes left. Last question. Briefly, what is your biggest life lesson? What is the biggest thing you've learned through this whole journey?
Biggest journey. Love is everything. Love ourselves more,
Yes.
love each other.
Yes.
It unites all of us. I know that's a cheesy answer, but, it
No.
really is. It brings a lot of truth, and it's the first thing that came to me, because I could say a lot of things, but you can even understand it from a frequency perspective, and it gets you pretty far. So
Right. And I'm going to agree with you. Honestly, I mean,
yeah,
even with my experiences and where I've come in this lifetime, it took me a long time to figure it out, but I would say that love is really the most important thing, more than all the external things, all the material. I mean, all that's great, but the most important thing is love, being genuine, and just having heart-centered people in your life. So we're going to end with that. So thank you so much, Edina, for being on the show. It was so great talking to you. I love talking about this with you. And for those of you that would like to join me next week, well, I have a mystery guest right now, and I believe it's going to be in the fitness world, and it will be very, very interesting. So stay tuned for that. I want to thank all of you for listening today. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Edina. And remember, let's just keep our vibration high to raise the vibration on the planet.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.